So thank you. I want to say hello to everyone here, and I want to say hello to the people watching in the Dalles and in Eugene and in Bend. It's really time to energize Oregon's economy. It's time to put Oregonians back to work, and it's time to start making Oregon money work for Oregonians. Oregon is facing economic challenges like never before, and looking at these challenges, it's clear that to energize Oregon's economy, we're going to need new ideas, new thinking, and new leadership. I understand that small and medium-sized businesses in Oregon are the economic engine of our state, and we're starving that engine with a lack of access to capital. I understand it because I know it from my own experience running a business. A long time ago, I opened a restaurant on the South Coast in my hometown of Bandon. I opened that restaurant because A, I love to eat, B, I love to cook, and C, I really love fresh fish. But unfortunately, I very quickly learned that cooking and running a restaurant really have nothing to do with each other. And that experience led me to create the Small Business Development Centers in 1983, which are now housed at every community college in the state of Oregon. As Secretary of State, I drastically reduced the cost of filing a new business, and I streamlined the process into a one-stop shop for new business registration. But small and medium-sized businesses need more than technical help and low fees to grow and begin employing Oregonians. They need access to capital that right now has simply stopped flowing. The large multinational banks aren't loaning to the very companies who can help us grow out of this recession. That's why in this campaign, I've made the creation of the Bank of Oregon one of my central proposals. I look forward to sharing with you more details of my vision for getting Oregon rolling again throughout the next hour. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Secretary Bradbury. Now Governor Kinshamer.
Well, thank you very much for sponsoring this important forum. I think we're facing a number of generational challenges right now in Oregon in our tax system, in transforming education and our economy, and how we supply energy for our state and for our future. I'm also absolutely convinced that we can meet these challenges, but to do so will require some fundamental change. And fundamental change requires leadership. Leadership that not only has a clear vision of what to do, but also has the experience and the skill to actually make it happen. That's what I think I bring to this campaign, as well as my ability to build, as I have in the past, a productive consensus here in Oregon. Because the fact is, we're facing issues that are too big to cut or tax our way out of, that are too big for Republicans or Democrats to handle on their own. And the recent debate we have over public finance has left deep scars in Oregon that have got to be healed by the end of this year if we want to move our state forward. I have a near-term and a short-term plan to do exactly that. Starting with getting our state back to work right now by filling high-demand jobs and engaging in large-scale energy conservation projects for homes and commercial buildings, and by leveraging public dollars to unlock the credit markets, giving small businesses access to the capital that they need. But in order to provide jobs, careers, and long-term economic stability, there are three more things we've got to do. First, we've got to recognize that education is the cornerstone of our long-term economic health in Oregon. And I intend to create an Oregon Education Investment Board that will transparently invest in our children from birth through post-secondary, giving a return on investment of that investment to Oregonians, and also holding the legislature and schools accountable for results. Second, we have to drive down the enormous and growing costs of energy and healthcare. And third, we have to strengthen the fabric of Oregon's economy by creating incentives to keep our money working here inside the state. I have detailed proposals to do all three of those things. I look forward to working with you during the balance of this year, and particularly after November when the heavy lifting really begins. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Kinshamer. And now we'll go on to our questions. Secretary Bradbury, you'll be the first to answer the question. And this first set of questions will focus more on the budget and state revenue challenges. And remember, you have 1.5 minutes now for your responses, and I will signal you, Megan here will signal you when you have 30 seconds left. So the first question comes from OBA's Justin Delaney. Justin, what's your question?
Thank you, Laura. In the last legislative session, the Oregon Business Association proposed a tax package, which both had business support and, we believe, would have seen Oregon through this deep recession. It also would have changed the tenor of the debate during the referendum. In facing these difficult public finance and budget issues, what do you believe the role of the governor should be? And is there anything you would have done differently last session if you were in office?
It's a very good question. And I think the role of the governor is to very clearly work with the legislature in crafting a new tax package. It's obviously the legislature that has to adopt the tax package. If I had been governor last session, I would have been encouraging the legislature to make Measure 66 and 67 temporary. The reason I say that is because that's exactly what the Oregon Business Association was supporting, and we had an opportunity to emerge from the session both with public employee unions supporting 66 and 67 and the Oregon Business Association supporting 66 and 67. Instead, where we ended up was a rather divisive debate. I think that was very unfortunate. I was very pleased to see 56% of the people adopt Measure 66 and 67 because I think it's critical to fill the holes, particularly in school budgets. But if I had been governor, I would have been strongly encouraging the legislature to make 66 and 67 temporary.
Thank you, Secretary Bradbury. Governor Kitzhaber?
Well, I would have done my best to keep the measure from getting on the ballot in the first place. I was in the legislature in the early 80s during the recession when Dick T. was governor. We did, in fact, pass a 10% sunsetted income tax surcharge to get us through the short-term revenue crisis we had, which was later repealed. And I think that is the approach that would have been much more prudent and wouldn't have created these deep divisions between two groups of people who ultimately need each other if we're going to move the state forward. Once the measure came out, I mean, we created a set of difficult choices. I supported the measure. I didn't feel we could cut those resources, but I think we need to be real. That although it may have made the tax code more progressive when seen narrowly, it also narrowed the tax base of the number of people who are actually supporting revenue in the state of Oregon. It created some real problems for people who provide venture capital, for angel capital funding for startup businesses, for people who provide a lot of philanthropic giving here in the state of Oregon, and the gross receipts portion of that, the way it was structured, creates a real problem for certain high volume and margin businesses. So I think it's very unfortunate, and I think the governor's role not only is to balance and produce the budget, but also I think to make sure that we have that political center that's crucial to actually making permanent long-term changes that don't swing back and forth regardless of what changes in administration or partisan making the legislature. I'll simply close by saying that I have balanced or produced 8 separate state budgets in my years as Senate President and Governor. I think I have unprecedented experience in managing budgets, and that's one of the things that I think is going to be extraordinarily important as we move through the next 4 years.
Thank you, Governor. And you are up first with a question from OEN's Bob DeConing. Bob?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. New taxes such as 66 and 67 aren't going to solve the long-term problems of the state. One big issue are the benefits paid to public employees. What would you do to negotiate with the public employees unions to achieve a reduction in the overall cost of public employees?
Well, there are two aspects of the benefit package that seem to be third rails here. One of them is the PERS system, and one of them is healthcare costs. And we touched briefly on both of those. I do think the PERS system is an important part of the total compensation package for public employees. Those benefits have been earned and sometimes exchanged for wage freezes over the years. But the fact is, it is an investment-based system, and its value rises and falls with the market, and it lost about 27% of its value in 2008. So we do have a short-term problem with the increased employer contribution, which is a part of the $2.5 million revenue shortfall, and that has to be dealt with as part of the budget balancing package. This isn't news. I put this on my questionnaire when I talked to the public employee unions. The issue of health care costs, I think, is not an issue that's just relegated to public employees. It is the fastest growing cost for private sector businesses as well. And one of the areas that we need to look at is something I call value-based cost sharing, where co-payments and deductibles are used not just to shift costs to individuals, but to create incentives for them to purchase high-value care that actually comes out of the acute care system. So I think as we deal with the overall issue of health care costs as a state, that will have benefits that accrue both to the public sector and to the private sector.